You're back here on OPA. The United Nations Rural Maternal Care, Maternal Care Initiatives is presenting a free evening of information as well as some fun learning on what the UN does and how to get involved right here in the borough of the Bronx. Ed, joining us now to share a little bit more about the upcoming Bronx events is the founder of GRACE and the U.S. Gambia representative for Rural Women Health Access, Dr. Amina Ali. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Great. So give me a little bit about, first of all, let's talk about your maternal care plan. And
Okay.
it's, it's this thing between Gambia, United Nations.
Yes. There is a high morbidity and mortality rate that is among African American as well as Latino women, especially here in the Gambia, in the Bronx. And the Gambia, the United Nations Gambia, is making a change in that. And what we're seeing is that there are women that are in crisis while pregnant and maternally in need, especially during crisis of HIV/AIDS. We have the suffrage of human and sexually trafficked. We have substance abuse and recovery. And we also have those that are trying to formulate a care plan maternally for those that are homeless or undocumented or the indigenous peoples that are unrecognized.
I want to tell people that you're a naturopathic doctor and you specialize in obstetrics and
Yes.
gynecology. And you've been home birthing
Oh, wow.
and educating women?
Yes.
For a long time?
A long time. It'll be 30 years in February of 2020.
Wow.
Yes.
And
Another
so-
anniversary.
Another anniversary, right? All right. And you got some things coming up too, because we were talking before the show.
Yes.
Actually, 16 grandchildren.
Yes, can you imagine? It's probably job security more than anything else, but it is a blessing. I've always wanted a big tribe, and when we have 6 girls, and all of them are blessing us exponentially. We have one due in August and one due in December, and we're just going to keep the ball rolling.
So you got a lot going on.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit more about some certification classes. You got some doula certification
do.
classes. For people who don't know what doula is, explain, and then the certification class.
Sure. A doula is a servant, and servant in the term of support, not necessarily as in doing things, but we support the idea and the care package that comes with having a birth plan that a mother ordains. Of course, we support her decisions and we give her options and choices, and we support her responsibilities as a mom and as well as a birther. And in this, we incorporate the tribe, the community, and the clan in what it is that it is offered for the mother. And what she is doing is she is saying that she needs help. And the doula comes in and supports her decision in the way that which she wants to birth.
Wow. And so when you talk about help, how does that help play out?
Well, knowing that there is a significant, and we're talking like 50, 60% decrease of cesarean sections and required cesarean sections when there is adequate health care as well as support during your maternal times. What we're learning also is that the women that are most supported are empowered to birth her way, and that allows greater outcomes for birth supports and gets her closer to her game plan or her birth plan, as we like to say, her empowerment plan, to have her baby her way. And that allows her tribe to be inclusive, to include religion and the cultural adaptations and her traditions that she embodies.
Talk to me a little bit about your UN work, because you're the UN representative as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There is not a culture, tribe, or tradition in the Bronx that is not represented in the UN. However, there is a great disparity between the UN and the Bronx. And of course, because the Bronx is underserved, what better place than to come and represent their own in the UN? So what we're doing is we're bringing the UN to the Bronx, and we're having informational sessions that allows those that are in the Bronx to understand how they're represented, when they're represented, and to what deficits that we may have in the UN to serve them. And then we're bringing interactive and fun activities. We have a session panel that allows each of the tribes and traditions to formulate a business and see if we can work collaboratively here in the Bronx.
So for people who want more information about that upcoming session, of course, we're going to tell them about that as well. It's taking place on a Wednesday.
Yes, and it's at Legal Hand here at Highbridge on Jerome Avenue. And we are going to have 90-minute sessions, so it's not long. We're going to have food and fun and great activities for each of the attendees. And we're also going to have a way to register so that you can be an official member of the UN.
So when you're talking about working at the UN as a representative, and you take the cares and concerns, of course, of community back to the UN, how does that play out, and how does that, talk about that dynamic?
Well, in order for someone to be fed, you have to know that they're hungry. And one of the things that the UN does very well is it supplies the insufficiencies culturally. because they're a representative at the UN will come in and now see that there are domestic agendas that have to be tackled. We just had a nice week with indigenous peoples, and it's representative of well over 500 tribes and traditions and cultures that sometimes are missed. And the only way that they're missed is because we don't know that they exist, or we have had them fall to the side of the road. So this is where the UN comes in and says, well, now that you're here, you deserve the success.
You got an event coming up in May, Displaced Neighbors.
Yes. Now that is for refugee, asylum seeking, and those that are displaced through human and sexually trafficked. We're giving roles, rights, responsibilities, legal aid, legal hand is bringing on what it is that they need to transition peacefully and come out of the hiding that they do here in the United States, and then help them to understand that they do have a place and they have a power and their voice is heard.
A lot going on there in terms of trafficking as well. So
Yes.
when we talk about trafficking, you seeing a lot in the community?
Yes, and unfortunately, I kind of get the women once they are pregnant due to the sexually trafficked, the human trafficked, and I get the dynamic of them trying to decipher whether they're going to keep the baby. So they have cultural and moral injury, and the moral attrition that happens with that, of knowing that this has happened to me and now I have to raise a stark reminder of that. So they have these battles that they have to deal with mentally and psychologically, and the mental health capabilities that are necessary and needed, and the support therein.
So we've got events happening in May. We've got things that you can take part in around. How do you
Yes.
tell Bronxites who are watching now, listen, you know what, this sounds like some stuff I really want to get connected to.
Yes.
How do they plug in?
Well, they can plug into Legal Hand right here in the Bronx. They can go to Legal Hand Highbridge, and they can go in that office anytime that it is open and get any information on anything we're doing with the UN. You can also go to our website, which is belliesofgrace.weebly.com. And Bellies of Grace is our go-to site that has all of our programs and projects, as well as what we're doing at the UN and here locally.
So talk to me about this birthing and being this midwife. I mean,
Yeah. Amazing.
it gives you a great sense of
It
satisfaction.
does. It does. We are now toppling the Bronx now and trying to reduce. And we also have, unfortunately, Sunday, we lost a young lady in the Gambia to birthing, which was unavoidable. And unfortunately, she had to transition. But once she transitioned, that taught us something, that we still have work to do. So we are going to stay in this mission. We're not going to sit back and lean on our laurels. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to stay in the fight because women deserve it. And the only way that this population is going to grow is if we have healthy women birthing healthy babies. So we have to empower the women, their voice, their power behind birthing, and the babies that they birth.
It's a little bit of a challenge with babies getting a little bit, or I should say mothers becoming a whole lot younger.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. We used to have teen births. If you remember, your grandmother was kind of young when she got married, but you know, there was a different ethic as far as taking care of yourself. There were things that we did that were deliberate and intentional to keep ourselves healthy and to have the babies come out equally as healthy. And then we had more children. And we did what our body does naturally. We were of a generation that had 14, 15, 16 children, and it was normal. We had them in the house because as African Americans, we weren't allowed to go to hospitals. And equally so, we didn't have the disparity of having other cultures impede in our decisions. We kind of did what we were supposed to do because that's all we had, and we were all we had to support each other.
Dr. Amina Ali, a lot of information here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
and
you so
sharing.
much for having me.
And of course, we're going to get people plugged in now. So I want to tell people a
Yeah.
little bit more about your organization, what you got going on now. So the United Nations Information Session actually taking place on Wednesday, May the 8th, and that's from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And again, Tuesday, May 21st, from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Legal Hand on Highbridge on 1759 Jerome Avenue. And for more information, of course, you can always visit belliesofgrace.weebly.com. And there you can find out more about Dr. Ali and the great work that she's doing. I can't believe 16 grandchildren. Wow, that's a lot.
we have some more because they're still healthy and young.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of our show today and want to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. That's on Optimus Channel 67. If you don't have Optimus, you say, Darren, I've got Verizon Files. Well, that's good. You can catch us on 33. I don't have 67 to 33. Well, you can watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. Also, a special shout out to those who are watching on the MNN channel, as MNN, of course, knows that we're broadcast simultaneously live on MNN, and my sister Ann and family watching. Good to say, hey, how you doing? We're out of show. That about wraps up for us here at Open. I'm Darren Jaime. Make sure you keep this channel and all of us here at BronxNet wide open. Take care.